Hey y'all. So if you clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you want to hear the story about when my husband got shot. Before I get to that though, I just want to announce to everyone that, hey, it's December, so I get to wear my Christmas earrings now, and I'm super excited about that. The jingle. Okay. All right. So I got to give you a little bit of background real quick before I tell you about when he actually got shot. My husband and I lived on a 6,000 acre cattle ranch for 5 years. This month is actually 1 year since we left. And the owner didn't live on the ranch. It was, the owner lived like over an hour away. So there were only two men that took care of this ranch. There was my husband and there was this other man named Al. Al had his own house on the ranch, and my husband has his own house on the ranch, where obviously me and the girls lived with him. It was an amazing place. This was like an $11.5 million ranch, almost 6,000 acres. There were 6 creeks that went through here, or through the ranch. There was, all kinds of wildlife, including elk. Okay, we live in Oklahoma, and it was just full of elk. It was an amazing place to live. My husband worked really hard so that I could stay home and watch our children, take care of our children, homeschool our children. So we got to go do homeschool in the field. We got to go four-wheeling, hunting, fishing, playing in the creeks, whatever we wanted, just about whenever we wanted to. So it was an amazing life that there's no way we could have bought an $11 million ranch and done this ourselves. So it was an amazing opportunity to be able to work on one. Well, Al, the other man that my husband worked with, he was kind of like a supervisor, and he was not a very happy person, and he was pretty cranky, and he would constantly threaten my husband with getting him fired if he didn't do something right or didn't do, the owner would come in and tell my husband to do one thing, but then the owner would leave, and Al was like, no, you're not going to do that, you're going to do this. And so my husband's like, well, he signs my paychecks, but he can get me fired. And it was a very tough 5 years for my husband, mentally and emotionally, because he wanted to keep our family on the ranch because he knew how much me and the girls loved it. We didn't realize how much hell he was going through with this guy, Al. But my husband sucked it up and toughed it out, and he stuck with it for 5 years, just so that the girls and I could have that amazing experience and that amazing home. So the way the situation worked is, in order to keep our home and live on the ranch, my husband had to keep his job. In order to keep his job, he had to keep Al happy. Okay, so just understand that as I'm telling you what happened when he got shot. All right, in March of 2018, so we trap hogs up there, the feral hogs or wild pigs or whatever you want to call them. We were constantly having to trap them and shoot them, hunt them, whatever, because they were tearing up the land. If you know anything about Oklahoma, Texas, anywhere down here in the South, the feral hogs are a huge problem, especially for farmers and ranchers. So we were always trapping them and hunting them and shooting them, whatever. We wouldn't waste them. We'd fill our freezer up, and they're delicious. I really miss wild hog meat. So one day they had trapped a bunch of hogs and they loaded them in the cattle trailer, and Al is driving the truck with the trailer, and my husband is behind there taking the barbed wire off of the pen, off the gate, so that they could transfer the hogs from the trailer into the pen. Well, they had done this dozens and dozens of times before, and they both knew the system, they knew the process. Well, Al, instead of waiting to make sure that Bird was done taking the gate off and he was ready, he just decided to start backing up. After the dozens of times they've done this, he just all of a sudden he backed up without looking, and he backed up into my husband and crushed him between, it was like a 2-inch thick wall on this hog pen, and then the cattle trailer, and crushed my husband. And he dislocated his shoulder, twisted his collarbone, tore his trapezius muscle, and then broke the rib on this other side. Y'all, he could have killed my husband. It could have been another inch or another half inch. It could have punctured a lung. It could have done so much to him. But thank God he survived. And we used up all of our vacation time. There's no workers' comp out there on that ranch. You use your vacation time, and then you get up, even if you're still hurt, even if you're not healed yet, you still get back to work. And so with a broken rib and a recently dislocated, put back in place shoulder, my husband went back to work. 2 months after that, my husband, I get a call from Al almost said full name, sorry. I get a call from Al, and he's like, hey, Bird's been shot. And I'm like, what do you mean shot? Like a hunter shot him? You know, because there's a lot of hunting land around there too. I was like, did you shoot him? How did he get shot? He's like, no, he shot himself. And I was like, what do you mean he shot himself? So anyway, he pulls up to the house, and he's got my husband in the front seat of the truck, and he's got a belt. My husband has his belt strapped around his thigh, you know, making a, I can't remember what the things are called, but you know, when you tie off a gunshot wound, and his whole leg is just, his pant leg on that side is just saturated, completely covered in blood. And I panic. And I've always heard, this may not be true, but this is just what I've always been told, that out in the field, the military, like the hospital corpsmen, the doctors out in the field, you know, like on the battlefield, will carry tampons with them. And if there's a bullet hole in someone, they will put a tampon in it. And so my first instinct was, quick, go grab a tampon. And my husband's like, no, don't worry about it. So anyway, they took off to the hospital. My girls and I jumped in our truck, and we followed them, and we're driving like 100 miles an hour to the... All right, sorry about that. Once again, I had to go delete some videos because I still have not figured out how to transfer all my pictures and videos onto my SD card instead of in my phone storage. Anyway, I better hurry or it'll cut me off again. Anyhow, so they get to the hospital. I am crying the whole way. I'm praying the whole way. And here's what I'm praying. I'm praying, God, I thank you that the bullet did not hit any bones in his leg. God, I thank you that it did not hit an artery and he's not going to bleed out, you know, bleed to death. God, I thank you that it was clean in and clean out. So we get to the hospital, and the doctor, they cut his pant leg off, they cut his boot off. It's on his lower leg between his knee. Oh, whoa, I almost knocked my phone off. Sorry. Between his knee and his ankle, it's on his shin. And the doctor said, well, it's not gushing blood. So, we know he didn't hit an artery. But we need to do an x-ray because it looks like it hit the bone, because it was right, you know, your shin, the bone right on the front of your leg. And the hole was like right on top, of the bone is what it looked like. So they brought him in there, did the x-rays, come back in, and the doctor, it was a female doctor. And she said, it is an absolute miracle that there is zero bone damage, that it did not hit the bone. It looks like it went directly, you know, where the bone is, but it somehow curved around and it went right between his two bones. You got your what is it? Your tibula and your fibula, the two bones of your lower leg, and it went right between them both. The scar to this day is still on top of that shin, and it looks like how in the world did it miss the shin, but it did. It curved around somehow. Well, anyway, the story that we got was that they were hog hunting, and my husband was chasing the pig, or a sounder, a group of hogs, and one of the boars turned back on him, and he tried to jump out of the way and shoot the hog at the same time and shot himself in the leg. Now, if you see the angle of this, and my husband's right-handed, and it just didn't really make sense, but why would he lie about shooting himself in the leg, right? Okay, so this went on for a year and a half. Actually, I'm going to put a picture of the gunshot wound, because I know a lot of people are probably curious. This is warning, graphic content. If you don't want to see the picture of the bullet wound, skip ahead to this much. I'm gonna put a timestamp here. If you do not want to see the bullet wound, skip here. If you do want to see it, go ahead, and I'll put it right here. All right, so y'all saw the picture, right? Wasn't too bad, not as bad as you thought. If you noticed, there was an entry wound and an exit wound. So the bullet went clean in, clean out. There were no fragments of bullets, or of the bullet. There was no fragments, or I don't know what it's called. I don't remember. But anyway, no pieces of the bullet. It didn't hit the bone. It didn't hit the artery. It did hit the main nerve that went through. It nicked it. And so he still has nerve problems with that foot. If he walks barefoot, it has to be super smooth. If he steps on something like even the size of a grain of rice, he said it feels like electricity just going up through his leg. But other than that, he's totally okay. And remind you, this is 2 months after he just got crushed by a trailer, got his rib broken, his shoulder dislocated, all that stuff. Then 2 months later, he gets shot. So anyway, the story we had, was that they were chasing the pigs and he went to shoot and accidentally shot himself. So for a year and a half, we teased this man, and by we, I mean me too. Me and Al, we were, I guess, some of the main ones that were teasing, like, oh, be careful, don't shoot yourself. Al would even tease him in front of the owner. And my husband would sit there and take it. I mean, this is the kind of guy, since day one, my husband said if it wasn't for the girls and I, he would have quit on day one. Because he's like, hey, stupid, hand me that wrench. Hey, dummy, go do this. Hey, what are you, stupid or something? And just constantly calling him stupid and degrading him and talking crap about him to the owner. Anyway, a year and a half after, hang on, I'll get there in a second. One day shortly after he got shot, Al came to our door and he handed me a receipt from the hospital. And he's like, hey, I paid the hospital bill for you. And I was like, oh, you didn't have to do that. Like, we've already paid $50 down. We plan on paying it. I cannot pay you back, any of this right now. And he's like, no, it's okay. You don't have to pay me back. And he had talked him down to $850. And, because I'd already put 50 down on it. And so he paid $800 on it. And I was like, I can't pay you that right now. And he's like, don't worry about that. Just give me whenever you can. Don't worry about it. No big deal. Sorry, I keep losing track of what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Al paid the $800 on the hospital bill. And a couple of months later, we were able to pay him back. So we gave him the full $800 back. We're even. Everything's good. But still, he's teasing Bird about shooting himself in the leg. I'm teasing Bird about shooting himself in the leg. And then last October, so about a year and a half had gone by since my husband had gotten shot. And my husband was in tears and he came into the bedroom and he was like, Mommy, I got to tell you something. This has been so heavy on me for so long. And I'm so sorry I didn't tell you the truth, but I didn't actually shoot myself. And I'm like, excuse me? No, what are you talking about? So, like, for a year and a half, you've been saying that you shot yourself. We've been teasing you. What do you mean you didn't shoot yourself? Why would you lie about this? So here's the real story, what happened. Al and my husband were out feeding the cows, and they came up on a sounder of hogs, and there was this real big bushy area. It was probably 10 to 12 feet across, and some of the hogs had went inside these bushes, and they're hiding. Well, my husband goes around to the other side, and Al's on this side. And see, I always thought it was weird because my husband didn't own a pistol. I had a 9mm pistol, but it was at the house. My husband didn't use it. So I was like, why would Al, it was Al's gun, but I was like, why would he let you use his gun to go hog hunting? See, that never made sense. It never made sense, the angle of where he was shot. But, I trust him. You say you shot yourself. Why would you lie about that? So anyway, my husband goes on the other side of these bushes where the hogs are. Al's on this side. They are communicating with each other, like with whistles and stuff. Like, he knows my husband's on the other side and decides to shoot at the hogs anyway. So there's Al, here's the pigs, and here's my husband. And Al takes the gun and he shoots at the pigs, knowing my husband's on the other side. And then my husband, he was like, oh, dude, you got me. And he was like, what? No, I didn't. He's like, you got me in the leg. It feels like fire. And so Al runs over there and he was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And do you know what Al said? He said, please don't tell Jennifer. Tell her that you did it to yourself. So Al was terrified of what I was going to do because he shot my husband, especially since this was only 2 months after he crushed my husband with a trailer, and now he shoots him in the leg. So he begged my husband, please don't tell her, that I shot you. Tell her you did it to yourself. And my husband, in order to keep Al happy, he had to keep Al happy. Sorry, he had to keep Al happy to keep our job so that we can keep our house. So in order for me and my girls to stay at this amazing home on this amazing, beautiful ranch that we loved so much, my husband lied and he took the rap for it. He took the fall and said that he shot himself. But after a year and a half, the guilt was too much for him to handle. And so he finally told me the truth. I'm like, well, now it makes sense. Now the angle and, you having his gun and now it makes sense. So that's what happened. Shortly after that, that was October when he told me of 2019. is when he finally confessed and told me. So January of 2020, we left, and that was enough. I'd had enough. The same guy, Al, he shot our dog, our family dog, okay? The most amazing dog that ever lived. He shot this dog because our dog got his dog pregnant. And instead of putting his dog up or whatever, he shot our dog. And then he sold the puppies. Is that not insane? So we finally left the ranch and didn't know what we were going to do. We just had to trust God that things were going to work out. And here we are, still struggling, still saying, God, what's going on? But I know God has something amazing planned for us. And so we're just waiting and we're trusting him. So anyway, that's the story of when my husband got shot. So if y'all want to hear more stories like this, well, not like that. He only got shot once. But if y'all want to hear more stories and you want to follow our life and you want to follow, oh, sorry, I got distracted. If you want to hear more stories. Oh, and remember the $800 that Al paid? Okay, he paid that because he felt guilty. But he still received the money when we go to pay him back. So not only did he crush my husband's rib and shoulder, and then 2 months later shot him in the leg and begged for my husband to not say that it was me, or that it was him, begged my husband to say he shot himself because he was scared of what I would do, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I would have been extremely mad. Not only did he do all that, then he accepted the money back. He went to pay for it because he felt bad, but then he accepted the money back. And so, I remember the next thing I was going to say. So when my husband got arrested and immigration picked him up, one of the lawyers that we talked to said, well, has he been a victim of a crime? And, has he done this, or has this happened, or did he get shot? And I was like, oh yeah, he got shot. So we can work with this. And he's like, great. Where's the police report? Well, because he shot, I thought that he had shot himself in the leg. And then after I found out the truth, it was still within, I think it was a 3-year, we still could have went and filed a police report on Al, but Al had recently got married and Al was trying to get his legal papers, as well as we were. And we did not feel it was the right thing to do to go file a report on Al, because if we had filed that report, one, he wasn't supposed to have any guns. And then to actually shoot someone, Al would have been deported, and Al would have lost his opportunity to get his papers. And so we felt like the right thing to do was to just let it go. So because we didn't want Al to lose his chance to stay in this country, we didn't file a report. But because we didn't file the report, Bird lost his chance to stay in this country. So, but it's okay, because I truly believe that we did the right thing, and I know that God will honor that. So there you go. If you want to hear more stories from our life, and you want to see where we go and what happens, if you've never seen my story, I'm going to link my very first video. I'm actually wearing the same shirt in my first video, coincidentally. Hey. Yes, I watched it in between. Long story short, someone used my husband's name on a DUI from 2016. And because of that, he was deported. He was arrested because of that. And then he was deported because after 8 years of trying, we still were never able to get his papers. So if you want to see my very first video and hear the entire story about how he got arrested and deported, that's going to be in a pinned comment. Yeah, I just learned how to pin a comment. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Hey, you guys are awesome. Be blessed. Y'all have a great day.